Good evening, my friends. This is for those of you for whom this path is a spiritual one as much as it is a scientific one or a personal one. I have found a couple of things incredibly helpful in navigating the spiritual aspect of this in terms of what I've learned about God and how that all works. I just want to share a few of those here for those who might find that helpful. The first thing I encourage you to do, for a lot of us, our whole concept of God changes quite a bit through this process. And I encourage you to ask God to introduce himself if you feel uncertain about any part of this. Ask for an introduction. Try it. Just try it. The other thing is when you're asking for things, I really encourage you to ask for states and experiences, not things. That's something that you'll get what you ask for. It just works way better when you go with asking for things like ease or courage or faith or abundance or healing or love itself. Asking for a general experience works a whole lot better than a specific situation or circumstance. It's really helpful. Know that being in a state of humility and openness is necessary to be able to receive what you asked for. This is a big one when it comes to, we are energetic beings. Everything is made of energy, that's the foundation for matter and all of that. And when we can ask all we want, but being in a state when we're asking for something, when we're requesting something, if we are in a want or in a demand or in a need state, we're in a closed off nervous system state. Our brains and nervous systems and hearts are very closed off and focus on what's not present, what's not working. And it's an attitude, it's an internal posture and demeanor of your inner self toward God as God is, however you're addressing in that relationship, and having a deep awareness and respect for how much you don't know, which is always going to be an infinite more than you do. When you're asking for anything and putting yourself in the posture to receive, being in a childlike state of knowing that you don't know and being open to things beyond your comprehension, especially in this journey of limbic recovery, because so many times the antidotes and answers to things that we're asking about lie beyond what we can imagine. And it's really helpful to keep that kind of stance, to really be very childlike and open in knowing just how much is possible, and yet we don't really know what that looks like. The last thing I encourage you to do is take your emotions to God. Especially if you're frustrated, if you're angry, if you're having issues with something in your life. This is something that I've never really understood in religious communities, that petition and worship are okay, but like being angry or frustrated at God wasn't like allowed. That was like seen as like, oh, don't do that. When God can take it way better than anyone else can. Like, if we just took our anger out at him, then there'd be a lot less violence in the world, I can tell you that. So that's something I encourage you to do. If you're angry about something, if you're frustrated about something, yell at him about it. He can take it. Let yourself work out your frustrations in that relationship instead of with human beings who, a lot of them don't have answers or solutions. And it's a really helpful thing too when you're frustrated but you don't really know what the answer is. This was an exercise. It's been one of the most powerful things I've ever done, is to know that there's this great song I've been listening to called Swing Swing, and the whole idea is like, if you're hurting, like swing at me, until you know what it is you're mad about and what the answer is. And I do that already, but I listened to the song and I was like, damn, it's really good. That's how it works. Like, you kind of just got to throw punches in some direction until you're like, oh, I know what the answer is now. And God can take it. He can take all of it, and he gets it. He won't get mad at you. There will be no smiting happening, so you're good. But yeah, that's been unbelievably helpful for finding clarity, at least personally, to just get it all out in that space. And then you can kind of see what you're working with instead of either creating tension with another person or just shoving your frustration down. So some things to play with that, I found helpful. Love you guys.